How's it rockin', Helldivers? Have you been out there liberating the galaxy for some of that sweet, sweet managed democracy? Are you getting the grips of the game so far? Starting to get used to putting in stratagems and dealing with outposts like the absolute elected official and patriot that would make even General Brash proud? No? Because your only day you could play the servers were down? That makes sense. Well, how about that difficulty scaling? How are you doing with that dealio? Have you been chilling out on the lower difficulties, doing things like raising up flags and kissing priority citizens goodnight? Or you might be having issues, maybe dealing with things like those large enemies that have armor and a bit more difficult to fight. Oh, well, that's okay. That happens to everyone. This game is pretty darn hard when you don't know what kind of shenanigans you can get up to, and the loadout, that's the best. Let's go over some generalistic things and a loadout. Also, you can play on harder difficulties and be Helldive ready. Also, subscribe if you love Super Earth. With that being said, would you like to know more? Armor, that thing you wear that affects your armor rating, speed, and stamina regen, which is basically a trade-off between traversability and tankiness. I'm a big fan of big armor, not because it's better than lightweight armor, but because I suck at dodging things. Plus, hot take, I think it looks way cooler, and also straight up just goofy at sometimes. I mean, seriously, just look at the most defensive armor you can get in this game. It's just a bomb defusal suit that was given a sci-fi facelift. The issue is that in Helldivers 2, the armor stat is supposed to give some sort of damage reduction, but it doesn't work. It's a dead stat. Think of the body armor you use as a difficulty modifier, because the more armor you have, the slower you are. And since armor doesn't actually have any defensive innate advantages except for the perks, you're actively sabotaging yourself if you have a heavier weight armor. Meaning that armor I just brought up, that I was talking about, that I like so legitimately is the worst armor in the game, because even its bonus doesn't do anything. I'm not mad about it. I am mad. So the question is, what armor will give you the best bang for your buck? Simply put, the most lightweight armor with the ability to give you either more stims or more grenades are the best. This is because it's somewhat hard or difficult to find grenades or stims unless you have consistent resupplies and get a little lucky with places of interest. But that's not guaranteed. Just take more stims or grenades, you filthy animal. It's good for you. Besides that, the best to worst perks I would probably say are the 50% chance to not die if you take lethal damage. The only thing actually allowing you to be a little bit more tanky with armor, getting an extra hit sometimes. Which is just kind of okay. You'd rather prefer to get the stims to be the master of your own fate, or you could just get more grenades for ad clear. Limb health ring brought up is also good, just so you don't get crippled as much and have to use more stims. The recoil mitigating buff is okay, but just like, aim better, dog. I don't know what to tell you. Scouting can be good and work okay, but you can just usually use your eyes and see what's around you unless you have some dense fog to traverse through like it's Dark Souls. And then extra padding literally does nothing, because armor doesn't do anything. So what you wear is going to have low damage reduction, but the highest amount of speed with either grenade or stims, or whatever else you want to get your hands on. I would recommend getting that free light armor off of the Helldivers Mobilized War Bomb, just to try it out. Armor not actually giving any damage reduction is a known bug and is probably going to be patched out in the future. If it is, go ahead and check the comments. I'll make sure to update it. Let's go into loadouts now and start with the primaries. Are you still using the Liberator, Deliverance, or even the Scythe? Oh boy, those fat cats at Big Force Multiplier got you brainwashed, huh? What do you think? You think this is Call of Duty? Rifles ain't gonna help you in this metagame, dog. The difference is because of this reason. Enemy armor in this game is really good, because if you shoot at it with a weapon that doesn't damage as much, it's just going to dink off and do no damage towards the actual thing you're shooting at. So it has to break a damage threshold. So instead of throwing foam darts at them like you would with every other weapon you can use, you could just use something better, just intrinsically. Like, oh man, I wish there was some sort of weapon that could be used to do everything, but doing good damage and clearing and be viable against armor. Oh wait, it exists, and it's called the Breaker. This thing's pretty great, and just like its real life counterpart, it's considered a war crime to use against humans, but thank goodness we're fighting against bugs and bots. That being said, it can headshot all Devastators and Warriors alike, while also being strong enough to get rid of things like Stalkers, Hulks, and Brute Commanders with a mag dump, straight to the good old head crest or any other weak spot. Plus, it's still good at taking down smaller enemies where you only have to use one shell to take out a trash mob instead of 2 or 5 shots from any other weapon, while having good get-off-me potential because of the amount of damage that can be churned out in a small amount of time, because of the ludicrous 16 shells in the mag, needing a reload afterwards though. The Breaker stays on top of the tier list because of this, and also because shotguns in this game aren't sneeze guns that don't do any damage after 10 feet. Like the real-life counterparts, they do really good at peppering pellets into enemies and mankind from medium range. And if you can't use the breaker or just don't like it, I would recommend using the other shotgun too, the Punisher. Or maybe even its slug version if you feel extra saucy and feel like you can actually hit your shots. But don't fool yourself and know your ability. And for the love of sweet liberty, just don't pick the other variations of the breaker. They kind of suck. Mainly because they lose a lot of their armor penetration when they get larger magazines, making them lose what makes shotguns so good in this game. Kinda doo-doo guns. For alternatives, you could also use the Bolter or the Jar 5, which isn't as ammunition efficient as the breaker, but it works at longer ranges, if that's really important to you. But it loses a lot of that get-off-me potential. Also, if you think this is a good idea, consider using this wacky build I found deep within Mesoamerica, where you use the SMG that has better armor penetration than the Liberator and damage, and a ballistic shield, so you can withstand more damage from the front and have good short-range bursts. Or you could just not be a freak and use the breaker like our forefathers intended us to. Gosh darn, automatic mag-fed shotguns are the best. For secondaries, there are 3 total secondaries in the game at this point. You start off with a normal pistol that acts like a normal pistol, kind of like the Magnum from Halo 2 to be honest. It's semi-automatic and made for one-dinking smaller targets, being a bit larger range than maybe the limited range of stuff like the breaker. But hear me out, it's just kind of okay because if I wanted to get rid of a small thing, I would just use my primary. Instead, your secondary should be used as a secondary get off of me tool. You can mag dump into medium or larger enemies to instantly get rid of them when you're in a pinch, so you use the machine gun pistol. And as for the revolver, I have heard nothing about the revolver. Nothing good or bad, so I don't know, use it if you want to be different, but the auto pistol is much more worth its spot for the capabilities of being able to get rid of what's troubling you immediately. For your special weapon that you bring in through ordnance, you should use something that isn't short range, but instead your sniper. But it's not actually your sniper because snipers suck and are not cool as railguns. The railgun is a one-shot precision rifle that uses a charge up that does good damage, but you can only charge it up halfway if the safety's still on. If you charge it up the full way, it will do amazing amounts of damage, but if you hesitate a little too much, it's gonna explode. The railgun is made to be mobile and not take a backpack. You can deal with chargers and hulks with as little as one shot, also being able to take out some super heavy units with as little as one shot too. Simply if you use the railgun on a weak spot, it will destroy whatever is assailing you. Just make sure to be at least crouching when you want to hit those shots, and don't hold your railgun for too long if it's fully charged or you'll blow up, idiot. Your final piece of your loadout that you actually carry on your person is your backpack slot. This will be taken up by the only thing in the game that actually makes you durable, the shield pack. The shield pack allows you to take more hits and not even get staggered while the shield is up. And when the shield goes down, you just gotta wait like 5 seconds and it goes all the way back up to full. Wow, taking this for the inventory slot that I wasn't going to use with no direct downside? Now that's what we like to call a freebie in my book. It makes it so you don't have to worry about things like chargers or bile spewers anymore, and rockets are just a bit more manageable. Stray bug claws or bot blasts are instantly absorbed with no stagger or negative effects, all with this added tankiness. Plus all the other backpacks are just kinda okay or work with another weapon, and they don't really jive with the playstyle of this build. Maybe because they're heavy and take up too many slots when you could just be taking a shield and not dying. And we'll talk about playstyle in a little bit, just calm your sweet little head. But how about those 2 other stratagems? Whoa, jeez dude, you kind of put a lot of pressure on me. It's almost like you're watching a video about a build. But there's just so much choice. But the short answer is that you can choose whatever you want. But the longer answer is that for the most part, you should bring 1 Eagle Strike and whatever you want for the second one, but I would recommend that you use an Orbital Strike. The Eagle Strike that you use should have at least 1 or 2 charges that can take out a large area of bugs or bots for crowd control, because Eagles come out insanely fast and then take a little while to come back up. Use the Cluster Bomb if you want a larger area to strike, and a normal Eagle Airstrike if you want to deal with any outposts. As for the Orbital Strikes, they can't be spammed out as much as the Eagle stuff, but they should try to be things that prioritize big boys and larger targets. So bring like the Precision Strike, the Rail Cannon, or the Orbital Laser that craves blood and oil. So how do you play this build in harder difficulties in general? If I were to say it shortly and succinctly, I would have to say very selfishly. Usually going out by yourself to get objectives done, while everyone else does the same thing so you can be the fastest possible. Because, hear me out, you don't want to fight unless it's absolutely necessary. Because killing things, unless it's an objective, doesn't award you with anything. You should only try to trim out what's impeding your progress for an objective, because fighting spends time and ammunition that you can use on larger things later. So the best way to play is to treat every mission like a marathon, where you use things like Eagle Airstrikes to destroy outposts while searching for sub-objectives and doing the bigger, real main objectives. as fast as possible, making it so Super Earth can re-liberate all those nice and tasty planets. Just remember, Helldivers are for humans that are trained to go in, get rid of spots of interest, and get out. They're not war dogs that are supposed to kill thousands of enemies in a 40-minute time span. Or you could just throw and use all your reinforcements, dying to bile spewers. I don't know, dude. I'm not your mom. That's a quick run through of my Helldivers loadout and how most people should probably play with it. Just watch out, if you don't have a loadout like this, there are some people who think they're better than you that will kick you if you don't use it. Just watch out. The toxicity and the superiority is starting to come out, folks. Be safe out there, and remember that our enemies are the bugs and bots, not ourselves. If you would like me to talk more about this game and all that sweet hell diving goodness, make sure to leave a comment and like and subscribe, and oh my god, it would be so nice if you did. Till next video, fellas. Till next video, fellas.